Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. For purchase and pricing details of this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform, please email me. It's in the description below, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 2003 retailed Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch Moonphase, reference 3576.50. This was the latest version at the time of a model first launched in the 1980s. The Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch Moonphase, and yes, it is a Speedy Pro. The watch is 42 millimeters in stainless steel by 13.9 millimeters thick. It's actually thinner than the one with the Hesselite. There's sapphire on both sides here. 48.5 millimeters lug-to-lug and 53.2 millimeters from end link to end link with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lug horns. When you throw the watch on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it does wear a little bit thinner than a standard Moonwatch, but otherwise identical. You can see from over the top, down the barrel, and then the cuff fit shot. Let's bring the cuff back into the camera there. You can see it'll fairly easily fit underneath the shirt sleeve, but definitely a jacket cuff. No issues there. Put it on a strap. It'll work even better on a small wrist. I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. Taking a quick look at the hardware here, the straps and bracelets from this period, evocative of their era, and you can see that this is a bracelet somewhere between a sports bracelet and a dress bracelet. A sports bracelet in the primary 3-link design, but it also has these little polished intermediates and an oval cross section. Satin on the top, polished intermediates, polished faces. You can see that we have a pin sleeve system for sizing the bracelet, so you will need a block and a punch to size this bracelet at home, but there are many individual removable links, so you're bound to get the right fit. The clasp is very similar to Speedmaster clasps of the time, which is to say the gauge of the metal is thick and the twin trigger release is very secure. You can also see that the engraving on the clasp remains deep and pronounced, so this one has been minimally, if ever, refinished. There are also two little divots. If you can see that internally, there are 2 divots drilled into the end of the clasp that allow you to use your strap tool to re-anchor the bracelet by either of those 2 points for fine-tuning the fit. Rolling back to the case, this is the Speedmaster Professional case we've known since 1964. Lyre-style lugs that bend inward on their inward face and flare outward on their outward face. A thin, longitudinally satin-finished profile with flared bevels at the end of the lugs, and then a somewhat more tapered bevel at the mid-case with a shear guard profile to protect the pushers and the crown from shearing. We've got the tachometer, which is actually polished on its underside. The underside of the bezel is all polished, and the top is anodized aluminum in black. The tachometer used to gauge the speed of an object over, for example, a mile or a kilometer. You use your chronograph in conjunction with these calibrations, and unless you're really handy with mental decimals, you're probably going to time or gauge the speed of something moving quite quickly with a 500 base. You can also see right here there are pusher adjusters, because this is more complicated than your standard Moonwatch. We have both a radial date and a moon phase up at 12 o'clock, plus the chronograph. A few upgrades from the standard watch. Of course, the standard Moonwatch has a thermoplastic crystal. This is sapphire. And a standard Moonwatch has neither a date nor a moon phase, nor does it feature polished chapter rings around its registers. Here we have those polished chapter rings. They are much appreciated, and they add some richness to this watch. Now, it may seem odd to you that this is a professional rather than a Speedmaster Moonwatch, but that has always been the way with the Moonwatch Moonphase, at least with the manual wind 1866 caliber. Since the first one debuted in the late 80s, they've always been Moonwatch case and caliber based. Normally the display case back version of this movement is called the 1863, and it's based on the Lemania 1873 Bausch. This is still based on the Lemania 1873 and the finish that's used for the display case back 1863 Moonwatch caliber, but there's more. Obviously, more is all on the dial side, as the complications are invisible from the reverse side, where here it's visibly and aesthetically identical to the caliber 1863, which means you have these lovely polished bevels that are really so good they look hand finished. Satination across the top of the chronograph components, which are all steel, so the recentering hammers, the cam system, the clutch, all of that is in steel. You can also see that the chronograph components are also beveled and polished on their side, with black polished screws and then perfectly aligned Cote de Genève across the spare bridges of this movement. Manual wind, 45-hour power reserve, a little bit less than the standard Moonwatch because of the complications. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it pivots on 18 joules. It uses a cam and lateral clutch system because the Moonwatch, as spec'd by NASA and used by NASA, still uses that system for shock resistance. It is a little bit more resilient than a vertical clutch system or a column wheel. And such is the industrial might of Omega and Lamagna these days that it actually feels as crisp as a column wheel. All this is 50 meters water resistant, so you don't necessarily want to take it swimming, but this is a lovely companion that adds a bit of practicality and romance both with the addition of the date and the Moonphase to the Moonwatch. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Moonwatch Moonphase by night.